Happy Monday Night Football, everybody. It's game day for the Philadelphia Eagles. What's going on? My name is Mark Farzy. There's a little program I like to do called the Farzy Show. It's presented by Steven Singer of Steven Singer Jewelers. I'm glad to be back in studio. It was a nice long weekend for my wife and I and some friends. We went up. I went fishing. You guys know I talked to Gunner about it. I caught nothing. Nothing. I saw a fish staring at my lure. And it was like, nah, I'm good. Thanks, but no thanks. So that was the highlight. Well, we had a lot of fun. There was a lot of bourbon involved. There was plenty of cigars involved, and there's just overall relaxation. And it felt good just at the start of the NFL season. Just get that out of the way before all the craziness really starts. And the fact that they had a Monday Night Football game instead of a Sunday game was great for me. I didn't have to rush back and do a pregame show or anything like that. But I will be doing the pregame show tonight with my friend Derek Gunn and also Seth Joyner coming up on the Jacob Media YouTube channel a little bit later on today. About 6:30, we look to start that pregame show over on Jacob Media YouTube platform. Phillies get swept out of Atlanta. That sucked. Eagles, of course, like I said, were off yesterday. How do you spend your NFL Sunday when the Eagles do not play? How do you spend that day? Is it a day that's dedicated to their family because you don't have to watch the Eagles, or is it a day you still get to yourself to still watch all day of football from 1 o'clock to the 8:30 primetime kickoff? Do you get that day, or do you have to go out and about? Do you have to do the fatherly things, the motherly things? Do you have to run your household still? Or do you get to still take that day and just watch and enjoy NFL Sunday football? Because yesterday was an insane day in the NFL, and I got to watch all of it. I got to sit down, watch all of it. I watched the Cowboys. I watched Cooper Rush somehow magically look like Joe Montana and leading the Dallas Cowboys to that victory they had over the Cincinnati Bengals. The Cowboys' defensive line. The Bengals were supposedly revamping their offensive line despite making it to a Super Bowl last year. They bring in the former Cowboy Lyle Collins and all that fun stuff. And they got the Bengals offensive line got blown out of the water by the Dallas Cowboys defensive line and their linebacker. Of course, Micah Parsons is going to do what he does best, which is just get after the quarterback and cause all sorts of problems. But Cooper Rush yesterday impressed the heck out of me. And you know what? Mike McCarthy, who I'm not the biggest fan of in the world, had a hell of a game plan yesterday and said, hey, Cooper, guess what? You're an NFL quarterback. You're going to go out there. You're going to sling it. And what do they do on their opening drive? They go down and they get 7. What do they do on their last drive? They go down and they get 3. They won on the 3. They got a 50-yard field goal, and that's how they won the game. But an absolutely incredible game there for the Cowboys, unfortunately. They improved to 1-1 of the season. The Giants win yesterday. It was an insane. And the Commanders lost. Carson Wentz, oh, man, he got beat up a little bit yesterday. So we got a lot of things we're going to get into today. We're going to start it off with our top 5 things to look at for tonight's game for the Philadelphia Eagles and, of course, the Minnesota Vikings. A lot of things to get into today. Here's what we're going to start it off with. Eagles offensive line. Number one thing I need to talk about is the Eagles offensive line. What I can't see tonight is a running for his life Jalen Hurts. A few scrambles, absolutely, I get it. That's the way the quarterback position is in the NFL, regardless of who your quarterback is. But if every time he gets to the top of his route and there's somebody in his face like it seemed like there was against the Lions last week, well, then guess what? You're going to have a lot of problems against this team because it's going to be tough to keep up with their scoring with the Minnesota Vikings and the scoring that they can put up if Jalen Hurts isn't allowed to throw the football. I know that they have made a name for themselves on the offensive side of things for the Eagles when it comes to running the football, but this is a game I want to see him be able to drop back, be comfortable, and hit his open receivers. As much as A.J. Brown played a great game, I'm not taking anything away from him in week 1, I need to see the ball spread out. I want to see Dallas Goedert have a big game, and we'll get to that. But it all starts with the Eagles' offensive line and their blitz pickup tonight against the Vikings. The Lions, by the way, they had 4 sacks, 5 quarterback hits. Or excuse me, not the Lions. The Vikings against the Green Bay Packers and Aaron Rodgers brought Aaron Rodgers down 4 times in that game, and they hit him 5 times. I don't want to see that same kind of pressure on Jalen Hurts. Offensive line, picking up the blitzes, that's what I need to see in this game tonight. Number 2, I'll call it Slayberry. Darius Slay and James Bradbury. Justin Jefferson is going to get his. It's really as simple as that. He's going to get his. It's just up to you to hopefully not allow him have allow him to have 182 yards, a couple of touchdowns, and basically doing whatever he wants to do on the football field. And the Vikings are going to do everything with Justin Jefferson because they can. It's as simple as that. Last week, 2 weeks ago now, against the Packers, the Vikings had Justin Jefferson go into motion. They had Justin Jefferson all over the field. And the number one thing that we can't have is this. I showed it last week. You cannot, under any circumstances, allow Justin Jefferson to be this wide open, where, again, you have guys out here that are not within 10 yards of Justin Jefferson. It should be easy. It should be child's play. But guess what? It is not. It is a very, very difficult thing to guard him. That is where, defend against him, I should say. That's where Darius Slay and James Bradbury need to be on top of their games. You're going to need over-the-top safety help throughout this because Justin Jefferson, as I mentioned, you put him in motion. He'll also go up and get the football. He'll out-physical you at the line of scrimmage if you get into hand fighting. This is a tough matchup for anybody. And I know that the Eagles have a pretty damn good corner in Darius Slay. They got a pretty good corner in James Bradbury. But this is the toughest ask for these guys as this season just gets underway. That's the number two thing I'm going to be looking for in today's game. After that, it's the defensive line. The fact that you only got one sack against Jared Goff, you hit him 5 times, I believe it was. You can't let Kirk Cousins get comfortable. I know Kirk Cousins isn't some incredible quarterback, but when he's allowed to be comfortable, sit back in the pocket, and just complete his passes, he's a damn good quarterback. This defense that has been revamped, this defense that has Hassan Reddick, this defense that has Brandon Graham back, this defense that has Jordan Davis. First off, have Jordan Davis on the field. Let's just try to get that out of the way, okay? Let's have him play a little bit. Fletcher Cox in the middle of this line, Javon Hargrave in the middle of this line. You can't have it. The excuses for not being able to get after the quarterback and get sacks should just go out the window. You need to get after Kirk Cousins in this because guess what? If he is allowed to sit back there, Justin Jefferson is going to have himself a fine game. And if you take away Justin Jefferson, which I just don't see happening, you still got Adam Thielen out there who's a hell of a wide receiver as well, who everybody forgets about. I need to see this defensive line be as good as they were supposed to be. I need to see this defense be as good as they were supposed to be coming into the season. So at number 1 here, I got the Eagles offensive line. At number 2, I got your cornerbacks. Number 3, I got your defensive line. And that's, by the way, how you're going to help out those corners. By getting pressure, you're not going to allow him to just get comfortable and start hitting Justin Jefferson all the live long day or anything like that, as somehow magically my camera just moved. Here's what else I got for you. This is a name that I know a lot of people in fantasy are looking at, and I'm looking at it myself. Miles Sanders. Miles Sanders needs to have himself a game. Had himself a good start. He needs to get after it in this particular game because if he has the ball in his hands, guess who's not getting hit? Your quarterback. If he has the ball in his hands, guess who's not getting rushed off his spot? Your quarterback. Miles Sanders needs to eat tonight. It's going to be a difficult thing to pick up the pass rush and also open up running lanes for Miles Sanders for the offensive line tonight. And that's as I said, the number one thing I'm going to be looking at. But on top of just blitz pickup, you're also going to have to make sure you're opening those running lanes for Miles Sanders. And even on the read option plays, those designs, you're also going to need to see what you can get out of your quarterback in that instance as well. And then finally, I got your O-line, I got your corners, I got your D-line, I got your running back. After that, it's Dallas Goedert. It's going to be a tough order here. A tough order for your quarterback. You got some good corners out there. We can talk about Patrick Peterson, of course. We can talk about Dantzler, for instance, Cameron Dantzler. They're going to be without Andrew Booth, which is good for the Eagles, obviously. Not to celebrate an injury, but to say they're not going to be as good as they normally are is fine. But you have some guys out there that can play football. And you got some guys out there that can cover. And if you're able to rush the quarterback and you're able to make Jalen Hurts move off his spot more and not be accurate with the football and not really step up like he was able to in the latter stages of the game against the Lions, then the Eagles are going to have a lot of trouble on their own home field. This is a game where you need to see your tight end step up, blocking, making plays for you, doing whatever it is he needs to do as this game goes on. Dallas Goedert needs to have himself a day. Harrison Smith's going to be over the top on him for the vast majority of the day. Make sure you are winning that battle. Now that goes, I mentioned Jalen Hurts a bunch, but I'm not even talking about what he could bring to the field. I want to ignore the quarterback position for a second and just focus on the other things because the quarterback flat out needs to step up. So those are 5 things I am looking for, the top 5 things I'm looking for in today's game against the Minnesota Vikings. To wrap up some business from last week, as you guys know, I was away, I was enjoying my life, right? Just enjoying some time. There was some big problems surrounding the Philadelphia Eagles and Howie Roseman yet again. I didn't have an issue with it. I didn't have an issue with it in the least. It's not breaking news to me to think that Howie is involved with every single thing that goes on with the Eagles. Jonathan Gannon said what he said last week about Howie Roseman having say on the roster and meeting with the team, or meeting with the coaches about who's going to be up for the team, who's going to be playing for the team, and it opened up Pandora's box, apparently. Again, it's no shock to me. I told you that this last week. I'm telling you it again now. Well, last week, Nick Sirianni was asked about it in his press conference about Howie Roseman and the comments made by Jonathan Gannon. And here is how Nick Sirianni summed it up.
What Jonathan was talking about is when we go in, we talk about the roster all the time. We're always in communication about the roster, and Howie's expertise is, the roster management. And so what we'd have to do, and what we meet with Howie about all the time, is like, hey, Howie, we're going to need this guy up and this guy up. We're going to put this guy down this week and this guy down. And Howie has to make that happen. I can't, I can't go in there and say, or make it happen that Calcaterra is down. I make Calcaterra down and Togiai up, right? This is a great case in point. Howie's got to make it happen. So we have to go in there and discuss with him, here's what we want to happen on the roster this week, and you got to make it happen for us. And he does, right? And so that's what Jonathan's talking about. I know it gets twisted and this and that, and he might not have said it exactly the way but that is exactly what Jonathan's talking about. We have Howie's support, and Howie just wants to help us do our job as best as we can do, and that's how he helps us there in that aspect of, hey, we need Covey up, make it happen. Hey, we need Togiai up, make it happen. And so that's what Jonathan's talking about.
Goodness gracious, I love every time I get to use this word. A great conflagration is what happened after Jonathan Gannon. And you know what's funny? I didn't even realize it. Like, I knew people were going to pick it up and start with the hot takes and all that stuff. But John McMullen asked me, they were kind enough to invite me on Birds 365, John McMullen, and he's the one that asked the question and started the whole rigmarole about Howie Roseman's involvement again in the roster decisions. Like, yeah, he's GM. And I gave them the same line that I gave you guys on the show. There has never been probably a more accurate depiction of what Howie Roseman does or the term general manager. It's never been more accurately applied than whatever it is that Howie Roseman is involved in. He generally manages the Philadelphia Eagles. Well, what does he do? How much does he manage? Well, generally all of it. Like, that is Howie Roseman to a T. So when that little story came out, Jonathan Gannon said that, when I heard him say it in the press conference, I didn't think anything of it. Of course, Howie's in the room. But the way Nick Sirianni describes it, I think is good, in that it's basically logistics. Physically, we need the general manager, the director of football personnel, whatever, the director of football operations. We need him in the room to say, hey, we need this tight end. Hey, we need that running back. Hey, we need this return man. And guess who makes that happen? The general manager of the football team. No way, right? I know, it's crazy how it works. But the other aspect of it was actually a follow-up question by our friend Mike Sealski. And it was the perfect follow-up question. Because even in that minute and 20-second answer from Nick Sirianni, he never says who has the say on the game day roster. They'll talk about game plan because they have to. If their game plan is to have more 12 personnel, they're going to need another tight end. So it makes sense. But when Nick Sirianni is answering the question, he doesn't say anything about, well, the final say. Well, who's got final say? So Mike Sealski didn't come out and just say, hey, well, who's got final say on the 53? Nick Sirianni just flat out said it. So the follow-up from Sealski is, to that question on Thursday, the follow-up from Mike Sealski was, well, does Howie ever push back? Is it ever just a one-way conversation of Howie saying, no, this is what we're going to do? Basically, that's the follow-up. And Nick Sirianni, this is where it comes out that he's got the final say on the roster.
Well, we discuss everything. But at the end of the day, like I have the say of who's up on game day and what we need. He's not sitting in there game planning with us either, and to the point where he doesn't know exactly. I'll tell him, hey, we're going to be in 13 personnel a lot. Like we discuss everything. The best teams I've been on have a great relationship between the head coach and the GM. The crappiest teams I've been on had a bad relationship between the head coach and the GM. And so, of course, we talk through everything. But at the end of the day, Howie's going to say, oh, you need those 3 tight ends up because the plan calls for it this week? Yeah, no doubt. Like, that's kind of how it goes down.
Seems like it's one cohesive unit. Oh, wait, hold on. On teams where the GM and the coach don't like each other, it doesn't work. And on teams where they do, it's better. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. I have a lot of confidence that the reason Doug Peterson is not here, and we'll get to his Sunday in a second, but I have a lot of confidence in the idea that Doug Peterson isn't here because he didn't get along with the general manager. And that whole idea of final say or wanting more say was a big sticking point. There is and look, and I know this game's going to highlight it because you're going to watch Justin Jefferson and know that the Eagles should have had him. And Justin Jefferson even says there's like this revenge, like chip on his shoulder because he thought he was going to Philadelphia in the draft and he ended up not going to Philadelphia in the draft. They, of course, ended up taking his now teammate, Jalen Reagor. Man, it's a weird place. The world is a weird place. The NFL is a weird place. But Justin Jefferson thought he was going to Philadelphia. Now he's got this chip on his shoulder because the Eagles decided not to take him. And we all saw the clips of Mike Zimmer laughing his ass off at the fact that Justin Jefferson was still available because the Eagles didn't take him. So, yes, it's going to come up in this. But I know that there is a lot of still animosity towards Howie Roseman. And has he been a perfect general manager? No, absolutely not. No perfect general manager ever gets pushed aside for any head coach at any point, especially a guy just coming out of college with no NFL experience like Chip Kelly. But Howie Roseman came back and built the world champions in 2 years. Howie Roseman has kept this team competitive. Howie Roseman has admitted mistakes. Carson Wentz, $150 million contract. Maybe this won't work. I'm going to take Jalen Hurts in the second round of that draft. That same draft. Now, that's still a piss-poor, horrid philosophy. So, $150 million deal? Let me still draft a quarterback in the second round as opposed to a guy that can maybe help them now. He hasn't been perfect, but I think we need to get away from the what the hell is Howie doing thought process. We've all applauded the offseason. All of us. We've admitted, yes, it's on paper, but they need to prove it. Yeah, sure, but isn't the general manager's job to make that paper as good as possible and hand it to the head coach and say, hey, look, here's what we did. Now go make it perfect on the field. Go make it matter. Go make it count where it matters most, which is on the football field. And according to that little back and forth there between Nick Sirianni and the media and Jonathan Gannon last week in the media talking about what this team does with Howie Roseman in the meeting rooms where they're talking about the roster, it kind of makes sense. And did it deserve any of the heat, good Lord, the conflagration that came out of Jonathan Gannon said, yeah, we go over all that stuff with Howie. Of course you do. He's the general manager. I think people are still very much just chomping at the bit to be able to rip Howie. And there are still people that, still Eagles fans. I know because I used to talk to them a lot. The Eagles fans out there that just want this roster to fail to prove that Howie is an idiot. And I don't think he's an idiot at all. The guy is the only general manager of a Super Bowl winning team. And it was after he was shoved in a corner for a year. And he came back, and now you've won a Super Bowl. And now, again, your roster looks pretty damn good going into the season. And now you're one game in, you're 1-0. Oh, boy, if they fall to the Vikings tonight. There's going to be there's going to be more fire. There's going to be more fire is what I'm telling you right there. Another thing that has come into the conversation here that I find really interesting is Jonathan Gannon. Now, we've talked about the speculation behind the scenes of Vic Fangio being like a phone call away, and Vic Fangio, longtime defensive coordinator of the NFL, him being on the sideline, him being in the Eagles training camp, and him getting an up-close personal view of everything going on there. That's pretty wild to me. That's pretty interesting to me. I do find that not just a quinky dink. I think the Eagles right now, Howie Roseman and the rest of the Eagles front office have said, all right, we got the pieces of this puzzle defensively. We gave you 2 top draft picks in the first 3 rounds with Nakobe Dean and Jordan Davis, and we got you Hassan Reddick. We went out there, obviously. Got you Darius Slay 2 years ago, before this season, 2 years ago. We went out there. We got you another safety. What you going to do? Nazir White, we brought him in here, too, to play linebacker for you. What you going to do, Jonathan Gannon? 35 points? That's not exactly a great showing. That makes you a little nervous. That goes, it's not a dominant defense by any means against what was supposed to be a subpar offense. How about the Lions winning, like I said yesterday, against the Commanders? Carson Wentz and the Commanders. But I do feel like, even more so than Jalen Hurts, Jonathan Gannon is under the gun. Now, by all accounts, even Fletcher Cox last year was singing a different tune after he came out after the Raiders game, talked about how his job is to talk to the defensive coordinator. His job is to get after the quarterback. He doesn't get paid to stop the run, blah, blah, blah. Even after that, he seemed like he had turned over a new leaf. So I don't know if him and Jonathan Gannon had a conversation where they all got the warm and fuzzies going again. I don't know. But it seems like whenever I talk to any corner on this team, for instance, a guy like Avonte Maddox, who told us as part of SkyDrive, he told us flat out, Jonathan Gannon's a mastermind. Steven Nelson last year told us that the guy was a genius. Like, these guys like Jonathan Gannon. And now you're giving them bigger pieces to the puzzle? Like those 2 draft picks I mentioned, Nakobe Dean. I'd like to see him see the field a little bit. But also bringing a guy like Nazir White, see a guy like Hassan Reddick have some good fortune in this defense. Put him in those positions to make plays. That's what I want to see in this. That's what I want to see in this game. This would be a great statement game for the Eagles and their defense and Jonathan Gannon. If you're able to somewhat contain, I'm not going to say stop, but I'm going to say somewhat contain a guy like Justin Jefferson. If you're able to have Kirk Cousins have a very off day throwing the football, if you're able to get Kirk Cousins on his back, then Jonathan Gannon is going to be looked at in a little bit of different light going up against these offensive weapons that they have. And Dalvin Cook couldn't even mention. That's going to be a tall order for any defense. Jonathan Gannon's got to be up to the task. So yesterday during the press conference, friend of the show, Dave Zangaro of NBC Sports Philadelphia asked Nick Sirianni about the pressure that Jonathan Gannon is under and whether or not he is under the microscope right now. And here's the way Nick Sirianni answered that question.
Yeah, I got a ton of confidence in Jonathan. That's why he's here. And as far as the pressure, I mean, this is the NFL. And so, and this is Philly, right? And so we know what the expectation is, and the expectation is to win football games. And it's our job as coaches to figure out how we can win as many, put the players in position to win as many as we possibly can. And so confidence level, super high, pressure, nothing new to us. That's what the NFL and is all about.
Got to put those players in the right position, as per usual. This is going to be another tall order, like I said, for Jonathan Gannon. It's going to be a tough task. It's not going to be easy. But oftentimes, I feel like you're watching one team, like the Vikings, for instance, and on the offensive side of the football, they have a lot of struggles. On the offensive side of football, they'll allow, the defensive side of the football, they'll allow a lot of yards per carry. Like last week, they allowed over 6 yards per carry. I feel like they're going to overcompensate to correct that, which is why Miles Sanders has to be up for the order. That's why he was number 4 on my list of guys that have to step up and have a big game for the Eagles today. But when you look at the overall scheme of things, it's going to be mostly a defensive thing. This is going to be a defensive story. It's whether or not you're able to contain, slow down Justin Jefferson. It's going to be about whether or not you're able to get after Kirk Cousins. It's going to be whether or not you can find somehow that right balance. We talk about the balance all the time on the offensive side of the football, run and pass balance. Defensive side of the football, you have to really find a way to find that right balance as well when you talk about stopping the run versus getting after the quarterback. You have to find that balance. Dalvin Cook last week, 20 attempts, 90 yards, can still run past a lot of guys in the NFL, one of the best backs in the NFL as far as I'm concerned. You're talking about the best wide receiver in the NFL in Justin Jefferson. This is a tall order, and a guy who is a great distributor, a great point guard, if you will, in Kirk Cousins. Oh, and another guy, Adam Thielen. Pretty good. These are all guys that the Eagles have to make sure they can stop defensively. And Jonathan Gannon has to have the right scheme in place. He has to have the right game plan in place. And then he has to have his players step up and make plays for them. Because one thing I really didn't see in week 1 that I really would like to see in week 2 are guys stepping up and just making plays despite the scheme. Like, for instance, 1 sack and hitting a quarterback 5-6 times, as they did in the Lions game, that isn't exactly what I was expecting. I was expecting maybe 3 sacks with this defensive line and going up against that offensive line. I was expecting maybe these corners come up with even not just 1 pick, maybe 2 picks, maybe a couple more passes deflected. I was expecting this defensive line to certainly stop DeAndre Swift more than they did, and that didn't happen. So I'd like to see guys like Hassan Reddick play that brand of football that he wants to play, which is downhill, aggressive, getting after the quarterback, getting tackles for loss, rushing the quarterback, making him, forcing him into mistakes, as I've said so many times. Whatever that version of football I saw that we all saw in the 4th quarter against the Lions, I would like that to be the last time we see that brand of football again. The first 3 quarters of that game, that was a better scheme by Jonathan Gannon. That was a more aggressive scheme by Jonathan Gannon. The problem was they didn't close it out. And I think in this particular game, if you don't close out this game, a team like the Vikings are going to come back and they're going to win. A team like the Lions, not so much. But the Vikings, with better weapons, more versatile offense, and a pretty solid defense as well, yeah, you're going to have to get after it. Now, one of the things, and I was reading some of the stuff on the Minnesota websites and all that stuff. One of the things I looked at was their number one thing that they're focused on in this offense is Jalen Hurts. That might sound obvious because it's a quarterback, but when you have somebody as versatile as Jalen Hurts, when you have somebody as athletic as Jalen Hurts, you don't want him to be comfortable either. You want to make sure that you are moving him off his spot. But when you're doing that, you also want to make sure that particularly you're making him have one read. Now, I didn't think it was very fair after last week to talk about Jalen Hurts as a one-read quarterback because I don't think he had time to really go to progression number 2 when he dropped back because he was off his mark so many times. But if they can continue to eliminate options for Jalen Hurts, well, that'll be a win. That will be a win for the Vikings. I know he can run. I know he can take off, but I don't want my quarterback running the football 17 times. Even if it's a read option and he decides to keep it, I still don't want him out there running the football like that. That's not how you survive a season as a team, let alone just a quarterback. So if the Minnesota Vikings are able to make him that one-read quarterback again, that's going to be a successful thing for them. That's going to be a win for them. It's the offensive line, which is why they were the number 1 on my list. It's the offensive line's job in this game to make sure Jalen Hurts has time and isn't dropping back, getting to the top of his drop back and going, oh, damn, no time for anything. I got to take off. That's why I didn't think it was very fair. And I know a lot of people came out with it, and certainly they were talking about it on a Minnesota radio. They were talking about it on the Minnesota Vikings website as well. You got to make him be that one-read quarterback. You could force him into that easily. Just make sure you're taking away those options by blitzing him, getting after him. Yeah, forcing him out of the pocket, but also making sure you have a spy back. I mean, that's 2 people right there that you're taking up just because Jalen Hurts is your quarterback. That could open up things for the guy that's number 4 on my list, and Miles Sanders having himself a day. But if they're able to do that, then that's going to be a big win for them. I would like to see the Eagles and this offensive line be able to pick up that blitz and give him the opportunity to go through his progressions. Because I didn't think it was fair that after 1 week, after 1 game, and him being off his mark almost every single throw, it was fair to go, oh, he's just a one-read guy still. I think I did. We got into the improvement last week with Bo Wolf from what we saw from Jalen Hurts. I want to see him be able to take advantage of what the defense is going to give him in this game. And if the defense's number 1 thing is to get him off his mark, well, then the offensive line has got to be up to his got to be up to that challenge. If not, yeah, then the Eagles are going to have some trouble in tonight's game, unfortunately. Before I move on to anything else, I just, good Lord, I know I joke about it, but the Phillies don't love us anymore. Here's where we are as of right now in the wild card standings. Braves just swept the Phillies. Phillies have lost 4 in a row. Padres a half game up on the Phillies. Phillies 2 games up on the Brewers. So that's good. Despite losing 4 in a row, the Phillies are still 2 games up on the Brewers, so there's still 2 games in a wild card spot. That's all right. They got an off day today. They got the Blue Jays for 2. Blue Jays are the top wild card spot in the American League. Phillies fighting to stay in the wild card contention in the National League, of course. You can look at a lot of different things. I thought it was interesting. Well, Hoskins got hit with the pitch, obviously, in Miami, so they're being cautious with him. I get it. Real Muto got a day off, came in, still hit a home run for you yesterday. That was nice. Nola got rocked by Ronald Acuna. All 4 RBIs were off the bat of Ronald Acuna. He got into trouble in the 3rd and 4th inning of his start on Saturday. And then yesterday, the Phillies had barely faltered on the hill and then couldn't win, even though he's been your hottest pitcher pretty much. I thought Bryce Harper can't be 1 for 12. You can't be 1 for, 15 runners in scoring position. It was a god-awful series. And I hate saying it, but it continues to ring true. And I know the Braves are a wild card team too, but they're also a wild card team that's competing with one of the best teams in baseball in the New York Mets, although it hasn't been that true as of late. But one of the best teams in baseball in the Mets, and they're also competing to win the division. The Phillies are not that team. The Phillies right now are 2 games in the playoffs as they occupy that 3rd wild card spot, as you just saw. The Phillies are the definition of a wild card team, and this is what I hate to say because I've been saying it for the last 2 months. They're the definition of a wild card team. They're not competing against the upper echelon teams. They're going to get the brakes beat off, and they're going to get spanked by those teams. They are a wild card team. You weren't able to handle your business against the top wild card team in the National League, a team that could very well still win the NL East. They're, a game behind the Mets right now? Now you're facing another team that's the top wild card team in their division, and they're a half game, I want to say, up on the Rays. The Toronto Blue Jays are. Don't make this losing streak go to 5. Sure as hell don't let it go to 6. It's always tough, it seems like, with the Phillies when it comes to interleague play, and the Blue Jays had their way with the Phillies in those 2 games north of the border without JT Realmuto and a few others. Make us all feel a lot better about ourselves going into this series here, or coming out of this series against the Blue Jays. Right the ship. Drive in those runs. The Phillies can't continue to rely on Matt Vierling and Bryson Stott to get run, and JT Realmuto to get your runs out of nowhere all of a sudden. They got to be able to have guys like Bryce Harper. Rhys Hoskins got to be healthy. Those guys have to step up. You got the home run in Friday's game from Kyle Schwarber where he hit his 39th on the season. That's great. Other guys need to start clicking into high gear if they want to finish this season strong. 16 games left in the season. Phillies much needed off day today. I think we all need an off day from the Phillies after what we saw over the weekend against the Atlanta Braves, unfortunately. Let me tell you about my friend Steven Singer of Steven Singer Jewelers, the other corner of 8th and Walnut, right here in Philadelphia. Oh, we got a new sponsor today as well. We're going to talk about that coming up in a second. But let me tell you right now, ladies and gentlemen, about my good friend Steven Singer, the other corner of 8th and Walnut, right here in Philadelphia. For over 40 years, Steven has been in the love business in Philadelphia, helping people get engaged and fall in love. And that's what Steven Singer provides the good people of the Delaware Valley. Also, the perfect price. Some other jewelers like to mark things way up just to mark it down a couple of bucks, make it feel like you got some kind of great deal. You didn't. That jeweler's still made out. But Steven Singer puts everything at the perfect price. So when you walk in, you can sit down, feel comfortable, and not worry about whether or not the person next to you is getting some kind of better deal than you are. No, they're getting the same deal. The perfect price deal. That's Steven Singer Jewelers. Also, Ready for Love diamond engagement ring standing by at the ready. Beautiful, dazzling diamond inventory, and a real jewelry expert will walk you through everything and make you feel comfortable as you sit there at the other corner of 8th and Walnut. Do what I do. When it comes to Steven Singer Jewelers, one place, one price, the perfect price every day. Online at IHateStevenSinger.com. Always fast and free shipping at IHateStevenSinger.com. How about Manscaped? Manscaped would like to introduce you to their biggest ultimate hygiene bundle yet, the Platinum Package 4.0. Fellas, you want to look your best everywhere, right? Well, that's where Manscaped enters the conversation. The Platinum Package 4.0 is one-stop shop you'll need that includes the Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer, Weed Whacker ear and nose hair trimmer, and they come with skin-safe technology that helps reduce the risk of nicks so you can help Manscaped with confidence and comfort. And it also comes with the Ultra Premium Body Wash, 2-in-1 shampoo, conditioner, deodorant, Crop Preserver, anti-chafing ball deodorant, Crop Reviver, anti-chafing ball deodorant, and ball spray toner. And it also comes with the Shed travel bag that'll hold all the goods that you'll be using to take care of your goods with Manscaped. Manscaped's the leader in below-the-waist grooming. Now you can trust them with the whole shebang and join 4 million men worldwide. And you can trust Manscaped by going to manscaped.com for 20% off and free shipping with promo code Farzy. That's manscaped.com for 20% off and free shipping with promo code Farzy. How about Freestone Farm CBD? FreestoneFarmCBD.com, the best CBD brand out there. Use promo code Farzy at FreestoneFarmCBD.com. You'll get 20% off. You'll love their tropical tasting Bayox that clocks into a chart-topping 24.1% and Super CBD, which is half Hindu, Kush, and 21%. Genetics of these guys are amazing. They also grow all their premium hemp flower in the Garden State with all organic inputs and IPM, so there's nothing synthetic from farm to jar. And after harvest, they carefully preserve all their plant compounds in a perfect 3-month cure. Just one look or smell will let you know it's CBD done right. Go to Freestone Farm CBD, FreestoneFarmCBD.com. Brand new sponsor of the Farzy Show. Welcome into the program, Mojo. Have you guys heard about Mojo? It's amazing. Picture players in the NFL that you see as stocks. Buy low, sell high, buy low. It's amazing. Mojo. Download the Mojo app right now. Here's how it works. The app currently offers the NFL with over 300 skill players across quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, tight ends. Each athlete's stock on Mojo has a share price, that rises and falls in real time based on on-field performance, news, and anything else that might affect expectations. You're playing stocks with these players. That's how great this is. Prices move all year long, and there's no off-season. Mojo. Download the Mojo app to your phone right now and have yourself a good time. Mojo's published guaranteed payout formula is based on objective stats, so you always know what exactly the stock is worth. Mojo is absolutely unreal. Think there's an overrated rookie or an underrated rookie out there, a star in the making that no one else is hot to yet? On the Mojo app, you could jump in on that and buy low to sell high. Call to aggregate. I'll tell you what you got to do right now. Mojo is available in New Jersey on iOS and in New Jersey by downloading the app. And just by downloading the app, you'll have up to $10,000 in free shares of stock play. That's what you can win up to. Just by downloading the app, you have a chance to win up to $10,000 in free shares of player stock. Click the link in the description for a chance to win up to $10,000 in free shares in player stock. Must be 21 and physically located in New Jersey to trade on Mojo. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available there. Mojo is a great app. Download it to your phone. Check it out. It's absolutely unreal. Learn more at mojo.com. Let's get into the chat check and see how you wonderful people are doing today and see how you guys are feeling about the Birds on this particular day. I gave you my top 5 things that I'm going to be looking for in tonight's game. Once again, O-line for the Eagles. Slayberry on Jefferson. D-line getting after Kirk Cousins. Miles Sanders going off against a defense that allowed 6.2 yards per carry last week, and Dallas Goedert getting his against Harrison Smith. What are you looking for today? Let's see what the good people are saying. Right? What am I? Mark got his mojo back. You're damn right I did, Berman. Bam, man. Let me get rid of it. There we go. Kevin, what's going on? Kevin, good morning. Bear, what's going on? Good morning, Farzy and friends. I like it as CBD. There you go. April, good morning. Bengals suck. Okay, they're the defending AFC champions. I think Joe Burrow is a hell of a quarterback. They got T. Higgins was back from his concussion. He missed some time in last week's game. But I think T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, obviously, Tyler Boyd, those are some pretty good targets for a quarterback. They couldn't do anything yesterday. Joe Burrow reminded me of Jalen Hurts. Every time he dropped back, it was like the rush was right there. If they've revamped that whole offensive line, it looks like it's going to take a minute for all of them to get it going. Clicking on all cylinders. Boop. April, I'm with you. Defense needs to step up in a huge way tonight against the Vikings. I could not agree more. It's a tough ask. But they got to do it. Sean Gillespie, no reasonable person could have seen the Wentz collapse. Can't fault Howie for signing Wentz early. No, that's always been the thing. He's trying to set the market. That's what the Eagles, even going back to Joe Banner, they try to set the market. And that's a good business tact. The thing that I thought was crazy was signing your quarterback to that long-term guaranteed money deal and then drafting a quarterback in that same year. That just seems nuts to me. Instead of drafting somebody that could have helped him out immediately. That's what was odd to me. It was like you're hedging your bets is kind of what it felt like. And it was a weird game. I'll get to it more in the morning rush. But between Carson Wentz and Frank Reich, what went down yesterday with some Eagles lore attached to it is insane. Let's see. Did I miss Alyssa? Good morning, Alyssa. Fuji. What's going on, Fuji? Oh, April's worried about this game tonight. You should be worried about this game tonight. Anytime you got dynamic stars, especially on the offensive side of the football, coming to town, regardless home, whatever. Anytime you're going to be facing those guys, yeah, it has you on edge. I will tell you, here's a little bit of a spoiler to the end of the show. I have the Eagles winning tonight. That should help anybody. Game day Eagles, Fuji, you damn right. Bengals suck like the last Batman movie. What was the last Batman movie? Was the last Batman movie the Twilight guy? The old Bobby Patterson? Was that it? Was that the last Batman movie? I think it was. Anyway. Alyssa, good morning. Mihai Sanchez, what's up, Mihai? Nice to see you. Boop. Panthers, Bengals, Yankees, D-backs all officially suck. At least we got the Detroit Lions to thank for all the teams this weekend. You're damn right. Sean Gillespie, good morning. Phillies know it's football season. Of course, start losing more games, says Sean Gillespie. They're watching the Bengals suck. How Mark got his mojo back. That's great. Ooh, this is interesting. To call it back to the mojo ad, Bearman and Professor Paylines. I like that. Buy low and short on Rager tonight. Watch him return a punt for a touchdown as Minnesota special teams coach salivates on the sidelines. I'm looking for the Eagles. That was Bearman. Sean Gillespie, I'm looking for the Eagles to mainly play 4 quarters of football, primarily on the defensive side of the ball. Yeah, I hope so. Sean Gillespie, yes, the Twilight guy. I just saw that Batman. I just saw Robert Pattinson as Batman, and it was weird. It was weird. I think the objective is to make each Batman movie or Joker movie weirder than the previous one. Like, instead of it just being fun and like feeling like a kid, it's like, no, now they're movies. Now they're no longer like comic book movies. These are feature films. They used to just be movies. Now they're like referred to as pictures. Oh, that picture. Ugh. No thanks. Ooh, Paul Keene. Worried about tonight. Don't trust Howie. Rager will score a touchdown to spite Howie. Here's what I don't understand, okay? Rager wants revenge. Now, it was kind of taken out of context of the quote that you've seen. Like, he was asked about playing in Philly, and he's like, yeah, he's got a chip on my shoulder. I don't think he said the word revenge. I think the reporter took it as revenge, and that's what got quoted. I could be wrong, but that's kind of the way I read it. Jalen Rager, I don't understand why he would want revenge against the Eagles. They gave him a chance. They took him in the first round. They believed in him when other people believed in Justin Jefferson more than him. Do you want revenge against us? The Eagles fan base? Because that's what I would assume you'd mean. I would like nobody wants to get traded. Nobody, like, even if somebody else wants you, nobody else wants to be. That's why we always focus on the negative as humans, is because it's not about that somebody else wanted you. It's that somebody else did it. Why didn't they want me? Well, because they wanted you more over there. Like, that's what you focus on. And Jalen Rager, I think, is in that mindset right now. And Justin Jefferson, here's the thing. He's got a chip on his shoulder, too, because the Eagles didn't take him. It's going to be, look, yes, I have a gut feeling as well that Jalen Rager is going to, I don't think he's going to return one for a touchdown, but I think Jalen Rager is going to have a big play and we'll all go, up, there we go. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if you saw Jalen Rager run a jet sweep for 20 yards against the Eagles tonight. That's just, it just feels like it's meant to be. Like, if that's a bet, you can pick up on that. But yeah, maybe go on Mojo. Maybe a little bit buy low right there and see what happens. But I just feel like that's going to be something. He's going to do something positive that bites us in the ass tonight. That's what it feels like. It's unfortunate, but it's true. Nelson Aguilar did have a good game yesterday. Sydney family says Rager breakout game. Yeah, there you go, April. He wouldn't want revenge against the team, but sure would want it against the fans. Yeah, I agree with that. That's what I'm saying. Absolutely, yeah, 1,000%. I look at it as an absolutely bonkers game. Sean Gillespie, if Rager catches a pass, it's a good game for him. Okay, that's true. It's a low bar. He didn't set a very high bar for himself here in Philly. But that's what I'm with you guys there in the chat check. Missed you guys, by the way, while I was out for the one day. It was I did miss you guys. I did. Thanks everybody in the chat. You guys are great as per usual. Let me jump into the morning rush brought to you by Sky Motorcars, SkyMotorcars.com. What a day in the NFL yesterday. It was the first time since 1992 that there were 3 different 13-point comebacks. 3 different 13-point comebacks. Like, no game was safe. No game was safe. Browns led the Jets 30-17 with 1:55 left. Jets had no timeouts. Jets won that game. 31-30. Joe Flacco. 2 touchdown passes. And it was because of 2 main things. 2 main things. Not just an onside kick recovery by the Jets. Kareem Hunt ran out of bounds before the 2-minute mark, as opposed to allowing the 2-minute mark to hit, and then you were able to kneel on it. And then Nick Chubb scored a touchdown when he could have just ran out the clock. Those 2 things happened around the 2-minute marker. Nick Chubb scored that touchdown at the 1:55 mark, coming out of the 2-minute warning. And instead of taking a knee like Brian Westbrook against the Cowboys when he's being yelled at by John Runyon, for the young kids looking up, it's an amazing moment. They lost that game. They lost that game. The Jets won. The Browns lost. I haven't checked in with my father-in-law yet. Oh, man. From the Cleveland area, big Browns fan. Oh, boy. Also, the Raiders led the Cardinals 20-0 in the 6-minute mark of the third quarter, and they ended up losing that game, or 20-10, excuse me. They ended up losing that game. Cardinals won 29-23. Ravens led the Dolphins 35-14 with 12-17 left in the fourth quarter. Dolphins won that game 24-35. In more of a local note, Frank Reich shut out by Doug Peterson and the Jacksonville Jaguars. Dougie P taking it to his boy, Frank Reich, and Nick Sirianni's boy, Frank Reich, with a 24-0 loss. Trevor Lawrence looking like a lot different quarterback under Doug Peterson than he did under Urban Meyer, that's for sure. How about Press Taylor, the offensive coordinator of that squad? A guy that became a little bit of a punching bag here in Philadelphia, because it's like, what's Press Taylor going to tell Carson Wentz? How's Press Taylor going to bring in the reins on Carson Wentz? Well, apparently it's working out so far for him in Jacksonville. Got the OC job. Cowboys, I mentioned that game. That was insane. Dallas, by the way, got to Joe Burrow 6 times. They sacked Joe Burrow 6 times in that game. Giants also won yesterday. They beat the Panthers 19-16. This is a mental image I can't get rid of. After the game, Saquon Barkley is being interviewed. He's at his locker, and he's talking about the overall mood swing from last year to this year. Talking about Urban Meyer to Doug Peterson. Apparently, Joe Judge, my former Summer League teammate, apparently from Joe Judge to Brian Dable is a totally different thing as well, because Dable plays music for the guys when they're coming into the locker room, like to get ready for the game, and then will rap Biggie, which I was unaware of. The Giants' new head coach, Brian Dable, former offensive coordinator with Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills, will apparently rap Biggie Smalls with his players. Whatever works. Hey, Nick Sirianni talked about daisies last year, and the team went on a run. Brian Dable is apparently rapping Biggie Smalls in the locker room and making that team feel a lot better about their head coach. Whatever works. Bucks beat the Saints as well, 20-10. Fighting in the Big Easy. Mike Evans got tossed out of that game. It was pretty wild. And Carson Wentz lost to the Detroit Lions 36-27. It was a wild day in the NFL. That Cardinals game was nuts. Twice, by the way, in that Cardinals game, just for a little bit more local tie, twice in that Cardinals game, absolutely insane. At the end of that game, when they're trying to win it, try to tie it and force overtime, Kyler Murray, guess who he went to 2 or 3 different times at the end of that drive? Zach Ertz. One time Zach was covered, ball got tipped. Another time looked like he and Kyler Murray weren't on the same page. But Zach Ertz has become a go-to guy for Kyler Murray, and it even dates back to last year when he was just getting his first experience there with the Cardinals, and it seems to have carried well into this year as well. Here is my final prediction for tonight's game. Told you I think the Eagles will win this game. I don't think the defense is going to be a lockdown, shutdown defense. As much as I'd love to say that this is going to be a 24-10 Eagles victory, I don't see it going down like that. I see this game having to be much more of a pocket passing Jalen Hurts type of game. I see this Jalen Hurts not completing passes to two wide receivers like he did last week. I see this as being Jalen Hurts completing this ball to Devontae Smith, to A.J. Brown, getting Dallas Goedert involved, Quez Watkins getting looks, seeing guys, Zach Pascal being able to step up and make plays happen for this offense as well. I see this being a much more offensively diverse game for the Eagles. I see this being a 31-24 Eagles win. I don't think it's ever comfortable. I have a very similar feeling in this game than I did going into the Lions game in week 1, where, oh yeah, they should win, but it's going to be tough. Eagles are going into this game as 2.5-point favorites at home. That's not the greatest of lines, but that's where we're at right now. The way I need to see this game play out are two guys outside the wide receiving core that need to step up and have huge games. I mentioned the offensive line and the importance there. But Miles Sanders and Dallas Goedert have to be ready to eat in this game. I don't think you can afford, even with Jalen Hurts being as athletic as he is, as great as tough as he is, I don't think you can afford back-to-back 17-run games for him. I'd like to see him look a little bit more comfortable in the pocket. I'd like to see him be able to distribute. I'd like to see him play a little bit more of that point guard role of being able to get different guys involved, making that defense think, oh, I don't know who's going to get me next. Is it going to be Devontae Smith? Is it going to be A.J. Brown? Is it going to be Dallas Goedert? Is it going to be a wheel route to Kenny Gainwell or Miles Sanders or Boston Scott? That's what I think Jalen Hurts and this offense needs to do to keep this Minnesota defense on their heels. And the other thing I'm going to bring into account here is when you look at a quarterback like Jalen Hurts playing on his home field for the first time this season, I think you're going to be playing with a guy that's going to be a little bit more on edge. And then you're also going to be playing against a quarterback in Kirk Cousins. We all know his record in prime time, 10-17. 2-9 in Monday Night Football, by the way. And he's a sub-500 quarterback in the month of September. So if you wanted to have some good mojo, no pun intended, going into this game, well, then this would be an opportunity to do just that. Because Kirk Cousins does not perform well in prime time, certainly doesn't perform well on Monday night. He's had success at Lincoln Financial Field. He's had success against the Eagles in his career. He's got a winning record against the Eagles. This, not including playoffs. This would be a good opportunity for the Eagles to step up and put out any idea of that Minnesota Vikings offense being able to get after it against this Eagles defense. And really get after it entirely. It is a big challenge for Jonathan Gannon. We talked a lot about going into this year, Jalen Hurts up against it again, competing with 2 first-round picks again, whatever they can do, trade for that or trade that away, bring in whoever, whatever it might be. But it's the same type of thing for Jonathan Gannon. They're not going to move on from their quarterback midseason, but they might move on from a defensive coordinator. So this is going to have to be a game where the Eagles defense is hungry and an Eagles defense that does get after it. And yes, find that balance, as I was saying earlier, in getting after the quarterback and also stopping the run. Because there are too many instances against the Lions where you went to blitz in the early goings of that game, and DeAndre Swift ran right by the blitz. Sometimes you run right into the teeth of it, and sometimes you run right around it. You have to have opportunities here where they run right into that blitz, because they are going to do that. They're going to try to create space, create time, set up the play action, the whole thing. They're going to try to do that tonight. It's going to be a matter of whether or not Jonathan Gannon's unit is able to step up to the plate and prevent them from being able to establish that play action pass. Because once they do that, it's time to be picked apart by Kirk Cousins and the rest of this Vikings offense. So 31-24 Eagles win this game. Miles Sanders, Dallas Goedert are the stars of the show tonight. Devontae Smith gets a couple catches, but it comes down to your tight end and your running back making things happen for you on the offensive side of the football. Great to be back with you guys today. Hope you guys had a wonderful weekend. Sorry the Phillies sucked at baseball. Eagles get the win tonight, improve to 2-0, and keep pace with the Giants and the Cowboys in the division. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Jim Hyder produced the program, did a wonderful job. This is a Buzz Sports Entertainment production. My name is Mark Farzetta. Have a great rest of your day, everybody. Talk to you tomorrow about an Eagles victory. Have a great day, everybody. See you.